Hello everyone, this is yours truly J Blue 68. Today is May the 8th, Wednesday, and the month of May is moving on. We're a couple of days out from this past weekend, Free Comic Book Day, very exciting day. And as I surf around social media, I see that it was an exciting day for a bunch of people. And to my understanding, something like 51 million comics were shipped out on that day. Wow, that's a lot of comic books. I'm hoping that that day was exciting for a bunch of people, and that a lot of adults who have children got to introduce their kids to comic books, because they are the future of comic book stores remaining open. Because a lot of stuff is going digital now, and as I've said before, I have nothing against the digital age, but when it comes to comic books and books period, I prefer that everyone actually have a physical book in their hand, because nothing can replace an actual book, and in this case an actual comic book. Plus all that radiation in your eyes isn't good anyway. So anyway, we're going to get into it. This is a mixture of books, actually, free comic books and also books that I purchased from the store that I was at this past weekend, and that was Back to the Past Collectibles, right, by the way. So we got just a few free comic books. I didn't get very many, and I got some what I consider to be gems in this particular collection, but we'll show what they are in a few minutes, at least gems to me. So first off, we have the Avengers, and on the cover it features some very popular comic book superheroes, some not so popular. We have, of course, Captain America, beside him the Black Panther, and in the middle there, the mighty Thor. Beside Thor, we have Blade. I'm like, wow, what is Blade doing in this particular with this particular bunch? But he's one of the new Avengers, and I'm assuming or hoping that this is going to be a way for them to reintroduce Blade into his own series. I know that there's a Marvel one-shot coming out which features both Blade and Wolverine going at it with each other. Beside him is the Ghost Rider. And the recent news revealed that Ghost Rider will be getting his own show on Hulu as part of the Marvel streaming network, which will be out, I believe, sometime in November. The same gentleman, and I cannot recall the actor's name, but the same gentleman who played as Ghost Rider in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will reprise his role as Ghost Rider in this particular show. That should be very fun and exciting, and a chance to introduce new Marvel villains and heroes as well. And speaking of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 7 should be premiering, I believe it's Season 7, should be premiering this Friday, May the 10th. So stay tuned for that on local networks. ABC, as a matter of fact. Standing atop of the Ghost Rider is She-Hulk, also known as, well, her real name is Jennifer Walters. She's an attorney, one of two popular attorneys in the Marvel roster of heroes and legal warriors. For some reason, though, She-Hulk cannot seem to maintain her own solo series. She's had at least 3 or 4 solo series over the last 5 years, and all of them have been canceled. Unfortunate, because I enjoy the character. And then, of course, we have Iron Man and the infamous Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. And there's also a prelude to Savage Avengers, a new series that has just started last week. All right, now this book was written by Jason Aaron and Stefano Caselli and Eric Arciniaga. I believe that's how that's pronounced. All right, so there we go. The Avengers, one of our free comic books that we received this weekend, or I received this weekend. Next up, we have Spider-Man, which is the opening or a segue into the Venom epic, which starts this year. And it starts in this particular book. But that doesn't look like Venom. That looks like Carnage. And then we have Miles Morales and Peter Parker. Looks like they're going at it with each other, having some kind of verbal dispute or altercation. Spider-Man versus Spider-Man. The gloves are off. Number 1. Also a free comic book that I received this past weekend. Can't wait to read that. Next up, we have Stranger Things, which is a Netflix TV series or Netflix series, very popular. Has received much critical acclaim. I've watched both seasons and they've been very enjoyable, very good. I love the young lady who plays as 11, who will also be in the new Godzilla movie, which also comes out this month. But anyway, this is Stranger Things. Written by Jodie Houser, Ibrahim Mustafa, Triona Farrell, I like that name, Triona, and Nate Piekos. It also features, I guess, a side story, The Black Hammer. And this is under the Dark Horse Comics label. All right. Next up, we have Savage Avengers, written by Jerry Dugan and Mike Deodato. Features some very popular characters: Wolverine, the Punisher, Elektra, and surprisingly, Conan the Barbarian. Just like Blade, I'm surprised of this new roster of new Avengers. But Conan is part of the Avengers now. That's interesting. And we see his sword actually as a dagger. It looks like it's in the Avengers logo, piercing the Avengers logo is what I'm trying to say. Savage Avengers. Next to him is Dr. Voodoo, and you know I did a video on Dr. Voodoo a couple of months back, during Black History Month, as a matter of fact. So it's good to see him again. Haven't seen this character in a comic book in a while. I kind of talked him up, I guess. Cool, Dr. Voodoo. And looming above them all is a very ferocious and vicious Venom. This is a very dangerous group of guys here. And just to let you know, not all comic books are necessarily for children, as this one has a parental guidance on the book, labeled on the book. So this is really for adult reading. There are a lot of comic books that are like that, because all these characters are dangerous, and sometimes the language and situations involved in the books could be a little too much for small children to read. So they just give you this little warning, which is cool. Can't wait to read it. Major X, book number 3. I've already read books 1 and 2. I'm enjoying this series so far. It's pretty good. New X-Men character, and features Cable, Deadpool, and it looks like Beast in the background there. But this is book number 3 of that series. I've enjoyed reading it so far. All right. And here are one of 3 gems that I found at the comic book shop that I was at. This is the second issue of this particular character. I always like to look, when I'm looking for old comic books, I like to look for obscure comic book characters, whether they be DC or Marvel. And Marvel always, to me, has the most fascinating, obscure superheroes. And this is 3D Man. This is the second book that I've gotten of this particular comic book character, and I don't know much about him. I do believe, in terms of his power set, that he's able to absorb powers, kind of like the Absorbing Man, deflect them, and actually regenerate those powers back at his enemies. He's fighting some dude named Sub-Zero Man. He's a 1950s superhero, but this book was published in 1977. It has a year here. 1977, if you can see it there. This is an original print. 1977, of course, was the year the very first Star Wars movie ever came out. Yep, May 1977. A great year. So this is, again, a second book I have of this character. He's an obscure superhero. Maybe we'll see him pop up in a Marvel TV series or movie one day. And after that, it looks like we have the X-Men. There were a couple of really nice X-Men books in there. And these are the drawings from the 1990s. How the X-Men covers were drawn in the 90s, which I think were the coolest, had the coolest cover. And that was also during the time that the X-Men animated series was out. But those colors just pop out at you, man. I mean, I love those blues and the reds and the oranges and the greens. Just very nice. Very nice. There's several there I wanted to get, but I'm going to go back to that particular shop and get just a whole slew of X-Men books. I told you, whenever I get one X-Men book, I get hooked. I love the X-Men, but this cover is very retro, very retro 90s. I love it. And another X-Men book, and this is the last book that I purchased. Also, colors pop out at you, as they did in the 90s with a lot of the 90s books. But that's just a very classic looking cover there. It's in excellent shape. And they had, again, a bunch of X-Men books there for sale at a surprisingly low price. And I am definitely, when I get the time and money again, we'll be going back there to get a whole slew of them. And I'll just do a comic book haul on 1990s X-Men comic books, 1990s X-Men comic books, some point in time in the near future. So that's it. That's all, y'all. Just want to show you what I got for this past weekend for Free Comic Book Day. There's also free comic books that will be a second Free Comic Book Day that actually begins in October. It's called Oktoberfest. It's not like this Free Comic Book Day for May, but they do give away free comic books in October. And again, it's called the Oktoberfest or something like that. So stay tuned for that, October of this year. So anyway, that's it. That's all, y'all. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you for helping me to grow. I'm continuing to grow daily. I hope that you enjoy this content that I deliver to you. If you have any suggestions or ideas, please put them in the comment section below. I listen to, read all comments. Not necessarily always on time, but in time. So thank you all again. Hope you have a good evening, afternoon, morning, or whatever time it is in whatever part of the world that you are in. Peace.